Welcome back to another Album Book Club interview. This week we're checking out HOAX, who we've reviewed in the past both in podcast and in an EP review. We checked out B-Sides and B. We're really excited for this interview, so let's hop right in.
Who are some of your guys' biggest inspirations?
Yeah. Thank you first off for having us. When it comes to inspirations, I kind of separate based on the medium. So there's like a bunch of inspirations that I know me and Franz pull from, whether it be like from filmmaking to like just reading like novels and prose and then music. When it comes to music, I feel like I pull from like a lot of people that are really lyrical minded first. So like oftentimes that's rappers. So like I love Kendrick Lamar. I used to be a big Kanye fan. Father John Misty, Frank Ocean, like people like that where they're really lyric focused first. I would say for me that was really formative to how I developed a lyrical style and like kind of a lyrics first approach to writing music. And I know France is also super eclectic, and France, you can answer for yourself. And I know you listen to a lot of music as well.
Yeah. From my side, I feel like I can speak to maybe more of the musical inspirations. But yeah, I think like definitely pulling from like a lot of the greats and like some of their best work. I feel growing up in like the internet age, I feel like we have that ultimate access that like the musicians before us probably didn't have. So we're able to go back and listen to like Marvin Gaye and Michael Jackson and some of these people who kind of their music stood the test of time, right? And so that was always kind of a thing that we wanted to ingrain in our writing was like, will this music stand the test of time? And so I think we pull a lot from that. So I would say mostly like, yeah, a lot of the greats like Marvin Gaye, like I said, Michael Jackson, and then like the rock side, like I know Nirvana, even on the pop side, like Mike said, like Frank Ocean, um, R&B, Stevie Wonder. Yeah, I think it there's a huge range of everything we pull from, kind of like a database, I guess, in our mind that we filter through.
How did you guys come up with the name Hoax? Like, what does that? What does it mean? I guess.
The classic question. Um, so it started, me and France actually met in college together, and we both had interest in designing clothes, and we were both kind of like just messing around with that medium where we were designing clothes, and part of that was making hats. And one day like we just made a hat and put the word hoax on it, as you do when you're just designing clothes. You just take words and put them on hats and hope it'll sell. But it was kind of weird because I started wearing that hat a lot, and we started wearing that hat a lot in general. And we were in college, so it was a very formative time for us. And we kind of got into this place where we saw a bunch of people around us pursuing careers and pursuing lives that we didn't really think it fit them, but they were doing it out of kind of this intrinsic motivation for either just getting security through like getting a good job, or their parents were telling them to do it. And so we started like kind of really just like observing this concept that a lot of times people wear these masks, or they'll put on these masks just to create this sense of security or this facade of what they think they're supposed to be doing. And that really just spoke to us because we were also kind of in that weird in between where we didn't know what we wanted to do. We weren't always pursuing music. We didn't. We were kind of in like that time period when you're transitioning out of school and like thinking about going into the real world, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do for the rest of my life? And so that concept of hoax was kind of like an ironic satire for us to just be like, hey, like make sure you're being authentic to your true self and not just living through a mask or living for other people, because at the end of the day you have to be the one who's in charge of the decisions and like all of the things that you want to follow through with.
Damn.
You don't get a lot of super deep meaning names in music, I feel, anymore. So that was really well said. That was really cool.
Some time to think about that one.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to ask you another classic kind of question of, do you have any albums, EPs, singles in the works? Anything coming out?
Yeah, we're currently working on our next album. Um, we kind of do this weird thing where we'll usually kind of work in kind of batches where usually like the hardest part is getting that first song to represent the album, and then once we get that out, kind of all the ideas start flowing. So I would say we're more in an inspiration phase right now where we're seeking out inspiration because we spent 4 or 5 years almost on that last album B, and then like a couple extra like half a year on B sides. And so that was for us, it was like such a long period of time where everything was just going towards making that album. And now that we're done with it and we kind of completed that full life cycle, we're like, let's take some time to really just figure out what we want our next album to sound like and let the songs come naturally to us. So I would say we're more in an inspiration seeking phase, but we are working on a couple songs here and there, and we do have a really cool concept for the next coming album. And we do have a song that we just recorded live in a studio that's going to be released soon, I think within a month. And that's going to be like a live in the studio kind of song. But yeah, we're definitely working on a lot of music right now.
Yeah, speaking of that music that you're currently working on, we also were wondering if you could give us any insights on what your guys' writing process looks like. You have less members than a typical band would have, so what does the writing process look like between two people?
I think it kind of varies song by song, kind of like some of the other people who are kind of multi instrumentalists, producer kind of vibes. I feel like that's kind of how we see ourselves more than just like a band or in the past. I guess that's kind of how we operated, right? But as we shrunk and it became really just me and Mike, a lot of times Mike will get inspiration, whether that be lyrically or he has an idea on the guitar or whatever instrument or medium he chooses. And then he may have a complete idea fleshed out and he's just like, oh, does anything need to be added here? Or should we, play some bass or what would sound good here? So sometimes it's kind of just adding the little touches, and other times it's kind of a full collaboration of like, all right, let's work on this together, or let's work on this idea and flesh it out. So I think it really depends, but I think Mike, kind of like some of the other artists that I really respect, like Kevin Parker and people like that, where they kind of have their own process of working on things and how how um, how as a partner you want to bring that to life without ruining the initial vision or just adding to it. So sometimes it really can vary, but I think this next project will kind of see how things are. I think being in the digital age, it kind of gives us the ability to share ideas back and forth and be really creative on how the process. But overall, I would say I'm more comfortable on guitar and bass and stuff like that. And Mike is really good on guitar, keys, as well as like a lot of the production elements as well.
So, what was the inspiration behind the album arts that you guys have put out for both B sides and the remix albums?
So the initial idea with the like all of this single art leading up to the album was they're all inspired by this Mexican like kind of bingo like game called Loteria. And it's like a really cool game, but it's kind of like bingo where it's just a game of chance. And so all of those images that were in the single art leading up to it were a lot of them were taken from the inspiration of those Loteria cards. And the idea was that life is kind of like a game of chance where you never really kind of know what you're going to get and you just have to react and move along with it. And so we kind of had that theme of everything moving, like where it was all of these like random pictures that somehow identified with the singles and sorry, with the songs and the song titles. And then it all led to this ultimate question of B, which the album is a question because it's more of an invitation to explore yourself and what you think being means to yourself than a statement. And that's why it is a question in the end, and not just like a direct like B.
Heck yeah, personally love the album arts. I think they look just cool
Yeah,
as
they're really
hell.
cool.
Yeah, actually, really cool is for B-sides, since we had kind of taken all the inspiration we could from the original Loteria game, we actually worked with a Mexican artist to create Loteria style like artwork for the singles that came out for B-side. So that was really cool because it was really just really fascinating to work with a Mexican artist who specialized in making those type of artwork, which was like very similar to the game. So that was like just a really cool thing for us to do.
We do got to ask. We are big fans of seeing people live. Are there any tour plans?
I'm not sure. No, no, I mean, I think we enjoy performing live, but I think it's for us usually where it makes sense. So I know definitely New York. We played our last show in New York, so we'll definitely have something else hopefully planned in the summer. And then I know LA is somewhat in the works, so we're working that out with the management and everything like that. And then we're hoping to at least come to Texas, and then some other places as well. But yeah, it really depends on where the demand is. People want us to go, we'll be there.
So I brought it up in the live where we reviewed B, but a lot of the lyric videos on the album have like space themed uh, videos. Is there a reason for that, or did it just look cool, or?
um, I think that the actual it kind of came out of chance because I was making all of those videos together and I just found this artist that I really liked and I was using a lot of the footage that they were creating. But I kind of it was funny because like we had all of the songs done and then after that we went back to make the lyric videos. Um, and it was just a theme that fits because I feel like when you're in space or even it could have worked in the ocean too, it's like you're in this vastness where you're the only or you're perceiving yourself as the only conscious moving thing that is just accepting everything coming at you. Like if you're in space, you're just looking at the world or you're looking at the planets or you're looking at all this vastness around you. And it just felt really fitting for an album that's all about just looking at yourself and kind of honing in on just what is going on inside of you and trying to understand that vastness that it like exists in our persons, you know.
All right. Well, we like to review albums around here, and thing we do with all of our guests is we ask what album you guys would like us to review.
I don't know. I feel like that's hard.
I mean, I can off the top of my head, I would say I think it's always really fun to listen to Father John Misty's pure comedy all the way through because it's like one of those ones where you're like, what the hell was this guy thinking the whole time? Like each track is kind of like that. So I would definitely recommend that.
We always love to give you guys a spot to just shout out your stuff and promote anything, whether it be good wishes or a new merch line or something, whatever you want to put out there. Let's go for it.
I think we got merch. Yeah, we still have merch. Link in the bio. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know it's linked anymore. But yeah, we still should have merch, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all we're promoting. Obviously, keep an eye out for all the live stuff coming this summer and fall. And then, like we said, we have a live studio song coming out, so keep an eye out for that. Probably look at our Instagram. That's where we're the most active. But yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll let you get back to doing what you're doing. Have a great night,